call this meeting of the Fayette County Board of Commissioners to order. We'll have the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time I'd entertain a motion for a nomination for president.
Madam Alder, I would move to elect Mr. Barton Barker as president of the Fayette County Commissioners.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Turn this meeting over to the president. We can do vice president.
At this time, we need to elect a vice president, accept nominations for vice president.
Mr. President, I would move to nominate Zane Bedore as vice president of the board.
I'll second that. All in favor of Zane Bedore being vice president, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is a resolution for the meeting dates for next year. The resolution states the County of Fayette, through its Board of Commissioners, has determined that the Fayette Commissioners will meet on the first and third Tuesday of each month at 9 a.m. If a holiday falls on a scheduled meeting date, the Commissioners' meeting will be rescheduled. Whereas the meeting will be held at the Fayette County Government Center in the Commissioners' Boardroom. The Fayette County Board of Commissioners does hereby adopt this resolution on the 7th day of January 2014. I entertain a motion to accept that resolution for the meeting dates.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved to second, accept the resolution for the meeting dates, which are the same as what we have now. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I passed one if we do need appointed county attorney. So I would entertain a motion for appointment of
Mr.
county
Chris
attorney.
Mr. President, I move that we appoint Mr. Chris Appel as our commissioner's attorney.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to appoint Chris Appel as the county attorney, county commissioner's attorney. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda is department head reports,
Well, department head
or
appointments.
department head appointments, I mean. And as far as I know, all the department heads will be the same as what they have been, so we could have a motion to just have the same as what we had last year.
Mr. President, I'll move that we have the same department head appointments as we had last year.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You all have a copy of the minutes of preceding meeting. Is there any additions or corrections?
Mr. President, unless someone saw something I didn't, I move to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the minutes as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We go on to department head reports. Highway Department, Mr. Havlin.
Good morning.
Morning.
Main thing I have reported, we've been out trying to keep above the head of the weather, and they were kind of fighting a losing battle out there with all the ice and everything, but we're just waiting on it to warm up enough that our salt sand will work. And I've got them out putting it down right now. It's just there for traction. It's all it's there for right now. That's all we can do. To this date, I've already bought 600 ton of salt since the 1st of November. So that's more than we used all last year.
How's your budget holding out for that, Jay?
Most of it was paid out of the 400 ton was paid out of last year's part of the budget, so we'll be all right for this year. We'll be good to go there.
When I came in this morning, my roads were great, so, I mean, they were slick.
Yeah, we left the snow on them for that reason, so they could get
noticed that,
around.
yeah.
If we buried them down to the ice, nobody would be getting around.
How's the equipment holding up in this weather?
We found out our new trucks don't like the cold weather too well. Let me tell you, the new AREA systems on it, it freezes at 12 degrees. But the tanks they recycle into the tanks and they heat the tanks up, but the lines that go from the tank back to the motor where it activates, frost up on us. And I've called Stoops and I haven't, they weren't open yesterday, and I'm gonna get back with them today and see if we can find an answer for it. We gotta do something, because we can only bring 3 trucks in at a time, and you can't thaw them all out at one time.
Right.
It's affected every one of them so far. Now, the old trucks, it don't bother them because they don't have that system on them. But aside from that, we're doing pretty good. A few breakdown boxes and stuff like that, but this cold weather is, when it gets down below 0, it's hard on metal. Metal will break easy, and that's what happens.
I would recommend the highway department. I think the roads are in good shape with the weather we've had. They've done a good job.
They put a lot of hours in.
For what you've had to deal with, it's a very good job.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks, Jay. Next is Bill Gray, the courthouse maintenance.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Bill.
Like Jay, we've been fighting the ice and snow, losing battles, but we're trying to stay above water. At the jail, I did lose a heating coil on a number 8 air handler, which heats the booking area and the holding area. Hopefully today I can get somebody in here. We couldn't get nobody in here to see how bad the problem really is. I do know we have about 2 foot of water in the basement in the mechanical room. When I came in Saturday night, we got that taken care of. I got it valved off. I've got dampers open from other air handlers, so it's staying comfortable, but it's stuffy because we have no return air in here. But I'm going to get on top of it as quick as we can get somebody in here. Hopefully today, we can get somebody in here. We can see how bad the problem really is.
Or how expensive the problem is.
Yeah, how expensive it's going to be. But it's a big damper on the outside wall. So what's happened? We've had a damper stick, and these are the old dampers that was in here. Those were never changed, and it stuck open, and it didn't take no time for it to freeze it up. The only way I found it is my temperature started dropping, and I thought my boilers quit, so I came in. And when I came in, that's what I found.
You check some of that stuff by remote, by computer?
All my temperatures by computer. Those dampers, those old dampers and air handlers, they're not on the computer system. So if they stick, I don't know it. The only way I know it is when the temperature drops. By then it's too late, especially on those outside ones.
But you check that stuff like from home and stuff like that?
Yeah, I check it every day. I mean, every morning and every night, I check the damper system to make sure all the inside dampers have to be open. If I've got one that's not, then I know there's a problem outside.
Very good.
Other than that, I have nothing else. That's enough.
Got any questions for him? Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
IT Director, Van Houston, he hasn't made it in yet this morning. He froze up. County Attorney, Chris?
Yeah, first, the addendum for the insurance contract with the union workers is legally sound.
Okay.
So I would recommend that you pass it today.
Okay. This is the addendum
The agreement that was,
on the wages where, and most states where they took their own insurance instead of the county's insurance, so I
Oh,
would,
this is an addendum to their union.
to the union contract. So this time I would entertain a motion that we accept that addendum.
So moved.
Second.
Then moved and second, we accept the addendum to the union contract. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Anything else, Chris?
should I wait till the surveyor to come?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay,
nothing now, no.
okay. Council representative, everybody here at the council?
Sure it is.
Sure.
There are 3 of them here today.
Well, good. Well, which one of you wants to talk?
I'd like to second in the public that how much I appreciate the good job the county has done on the roads. I live out there and it's hard to get out of the driveway, but it's good to know that once I get out of the driveway, we've got clear roads to like you were looking forward to our meeting this evening and getting started on a brand new year. I don't think there's anything special that has come up since our last meeting to tell you about, but we'll meet this evening and go from there.
Okay.
Thanks, Shirley.
Mail?
You know, the only thing that I did think of as far as mail goes, and this kind of isn't mail, but there was an article in the News Examiner, December 26th, about discussing the end. Governor Pence wants to eliminate the personal property tax for businesses. And I did look up what that would mean for Fayette County, and for business personal property tax alone, we collected over 2.2 million. So it would have a very significant impact on Fayette County and how we're able to fund county operations, et cetera, if they were to eliminate this. So I would strongly urge everyone to support this, and for you to maybe look at a way that you could talk to state legislators. And, you know, I think that yesterday was to be the first day of the 2014 session, which I think got postponed. So, but we need to see and really need to keep a close eye on what this is, because of the huge impact it would have to us, and I'm sure would have to all 92 counties. I just want to mention
It'd be
that.
more than broke if we lost that income.
Oh, man, be hurt.
They haven't proposed any alternative
I would
source of
say he's
income
not,
for us, have they?
he hasn't proposed, he's not streamlining the tax structure. He's just simply eliminating it and not providing a way to make up for the monies that are
That's
lost.
the way it's
See,
set up.
none of those monies really go to the state. All that is local money that we distribute out to all the taxing units. So it really has no impact at the state level, other than that it could, you know, pretty much cripple a lot of counties, have a big impact there, so.
Mr. President, it might be appropriate for the commissioners to send a letter to our state representative and our state senator on behalf of the board,
I think that's
claiming,
good.
or excuse me, stating simply that we do not support this, that it would put us in a completely untenable financial position. If you need that form of a motion, I'll make that.
Well, I guess if it's coming from the board, we should.
Can you change it all into a motion, Deb?
Yes.
Thank you.
Need a second to that motion.
I'll second.
Second that the commissioners send a letter up to our state representatives and senator, inform them what our position is, that we're not in favor of this because it's got crippled our finances. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We have any other mail?
No, that's pretty much it.
Moving on to old business. Community sharing. Who wants to start?
Is there a representative here from Community Sharing?
Yes.
Would you take the podium, please? For the record, would you state your name?
David Gettinger,
Okay.
President of Community Sharing,
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
President of Community Sharing
Thank you.
Foundation.
How did you fare with the Salvation Army?
David Hayes, could I divert to you? We had a meeting, and he has some facts that I would hope that he could help present better than I can. He took notes and I didn't, so I would like to divert to David Hayes for that.
You want to stay here? The meeting we had with Captain Amy Norton, she's, I guess, a wife of Alex Norton, who was here at the last meeting, I believe.
December meeting.
Yeah, the December meeting. She was the one we had a meeting with. Alex Norton didn't come to that meeting, and referred to her, and she said that she's in charge of the Salvation Army pantry. And one thing she said, that we must combine into one pantry and not two because of space and inventories. And we explored that a little bit with her, And that was a firm statement that she had made. And we got to thinking about the fact that they supply 2 days of pantry a week. And they have inventory over there for 2 days. We supply 3 days a week, and we have a food inventory for 3 days a week. They don't have space, they just barely have enough space for their 2 days worth of food inventory. Now, they are going to make some changes, take out some walls and reorganize, but they won't be able to store 5 days worth of food. So combining the inventories in that respect would physically not be possible with what they have over there. Combining the inventories would also be a problem with inventory control, but that seemed to stop that discussion right there when they found out there wasn't space, and they didn't want to do that.
They didn't want to do what?
To combine, or to have us to come over and operate as a separate entity. That was our request. We were looking for and still are looking for a benevolent landlord that would say, here's, as the county has done in the past, that here's a facility with utilities and access completely for the pantry. And
What is the advantage of having 2 separate entities instead of one?
to provide 5 days worth of
I
food
mean,
distribution.
if you went in the one entity and had 5 days, is there anything wrong with that?
It would be all right if there was facility for it, but they don't have a facility, and their plans don't include making any facility for it.
Is it both Gleaners?
Yes.
Both places are Gleaners?
Yes.
Yes, but they get food from another location as well, and it's not as cut and dried as you might think. They get food from other sources besides Gleaners in Indianapolis. We have to report our inventory to Gleaners every month, and I can't imagine how we could report what our inventory is if it's all sitting on the same shelf.
But if you went into one entity, it would just be one inventory, one report.
Well,
That's probably true. We don't know. Once they said that they couldn't supply the place, then we stopped at that point and began to look for a separate place.
the amount of space was the main thing. They have food in 5 or 6 different areas over there in that building. And they're going to move the Lord's Kitchen into the building, and that's going to reduce the amount of space that's available. And they just did not think that they could accommodate us, is the main problem.
Mr. Hayes, I've known you since I had dark hair, which has been a long time. And you're a very good man. You're an honorable man. Having said that, and your wife is a lovely lady also.
Thank you.
Having said that, we're kind of at cross odds here. When this first began, there was a lot of emotion, a lot of the way things were done. Number one, Zane either received or a text was forwarded to him about the Bible verse about I was naked and you clothed me, I was in hunger and you fed me. Well, nobody's naked and you guys aren't clothing anybody naked, okay? Number two, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there are a total of 14 different Gleaners operations in Fayette County, including the schools, some churches, and et cetera. Am I correct?
I don't know about the number 14, but there are several,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
And they seem to be uncoordinated as far as we can tell.
I did my homework. There's 14 plus a truck that travels around the county.
And the reason I say that was I talked to Baptist Temple, And in talking to them, they were talking about they allow Gleaners to use their parking lot
Yes.
and for exchange of food, etc. So that's when it kind of came to my attention. We've got, I can't say repetitive services, but we got numerous services all under the same umbrella of Gleaners. Again, taking the emotion out of the situation, the commissioners have tossed around the idea of either reducing the size of the occupancy. Let me back that up, not that, let me put it that way. We're trying to rearrange things in the courthouse annex in our minds so that we can either completely empty the annex and save a lot of money in utilities, or condense the space that's used. And the reason for that is there was an unofficial figure that perhaps we could save as much as $10,000 a year in utilities, which doesn't sound like much, but over a 10-year period, you're talking $100,000. That's significant. The other thing is that the elevator issue. The elevator has been broken twice. We've received an estimate to replace it, and the estimate was
$31,179.
a little bit over $31,000.
Yes.
That's only if, once they get it apart, when they get down to the actual guts of the elevator, they said if they find certain things there, and I'm not mechanically inclined, they would possibly have to bring in a crane of some sort to do some work, and they wouldn't even give us a guesstimate at that. And quite frankly, we don't have the money. So a lot of this of throwing you guys out into the cold with a heartless attitude, okay, simply doesn't exist.
Right.
I have to say, and I don't know whose idea it was, but whoever had the idea of calling Channel 8, I believe, to try and put pressure on us, brother, I worked the streets as a cop for 31 years. I don't like being pushed into a corner.
Right.
That was completely wrong, because none of you, other than I spoke to you in the hallway and after that one meeting, and we didn't discuss the subject hand, we just exchanged greetings, okay? That is not the way to do things.
Right.
So,
I might to partially defend ourselves on that. That certainly did not come from me or from any of the officers that was done. It was done without my knowledge until I found out about it later. So please don't hold me responsible for that.
okay.
Yeah. I hadn't even heard of the Channel 8 thing till.
Yeah, I really don't know that they went with it, but I do know for a fact that they were contacted. And so,
I had something to that.
sure.
Or do you want?
I just will say, if Mr. Hayes, if you say it didn't happen on your part, and I don't know you, Mr. Gettinger, but I do know Mr. Hayes, then I take you at your word.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you brought that up, though. It does seem that we've had an adversarial exchange here in the newspaper, and we don't really want to further that, and I think we would apologize for anything that we've done in that respect. There's a little bit of history that caused our emotions to rise. When we were invited to the, may I point this out, the December meeting?
Sure.
It was just a one-sentence note, I guess, slipped under our door to come to the meeting to discuss the pantry. Period.
Location.
Pantry location.
Well, the other thing is but this is an ongoing thing. I'm not going to say who, but one of our county employees had got a text message. It was a blank text message, and it had the Bible verses in it and everything. It got all the way to the bottom, and then it was a threat. That's bad news.
Yes, it is.
Okay?
Yeah,
If
I
the
don't
food
know
pantry
where
were
that
to
came
be
from.
eliminated from the annex building, there will be a heavy price to pay or something like that. That's-
Again, that is certainly not anything that I authorized, and I didn't know anything about it ahead of time, and I would not have endorsed it if I had known ahead of time.
And then I got off the phone with Captain Norton right before I walked in here today. And he said, and I'm going to try to quote him as best I can, he said that, in his own words, he did not in any way, shape, or form, nor did his wife in any way, shape, or form tell the community sharing that they were not allowed to come to Salvation Army. And he said, quite frankly, that the Salvation Army has been used as a stepping stone to build up community sharing in his eyes. He said, quite frankly, quite honestly, he said the bashing that's been going on for the Salvation Army and their good name, he said, quite honestly, he said, I'm done dealing with it. He said, I apologize. He said, but this has gotten downright nasty. He said, we've been thrown under the mud. He said, our name's been bashed all over Fayette County as the Salvation Army. And I'm just quoting what he said, and he said, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. So, not saying that you did that, I'm just saying there's been a lot of mudslinging going on here. There's a lot of locations in Fayette County to get food, okay? And the Gleaners is a bit, when you look up community sharing, community sharing is the first one that comes up on the page. You're the first one, okay? And it's a good program. And people do need to eat, especially elderly that live on a fixed income. They can't get in, they can't, they have issues and other things. Having said that, at the end of the day, not all this is just on an elevator. All this has to do with making more space in the annex building, moving offices around to consolidate because of the 11 or other employees that were let go, because we have offices with one person in them and they're closed half a day. So we've got to start combining offices, moving things together, and consolidating things. So at the end of the day, it's not about shutting community sharing down. I had one of the community sharing gentlemen, he's not here today, ask me, he says, well, why are you shutting us down? I said, I'm not shutting you down. He said, well, if you kick us out, you will be shutting us down. Well, at the end of the day, I did a lot of footwork to get the Salvation Army. Whether it did or whether it worked or whether it didn't work, have you guys reached out to anyone to talk to them and say, hey, what can we do? Where can we go? It's a hard thing to find somebody who's going to pay your utilities, pay your liability insurance, and the whole thing, and then just let you operate as you want. That's a hard thing to find.
That was one of the things that the Salvation Army mentioned to us, that they would have to charge us for the additional utility money that would cost them to operate more days than what they were operating, that we would have to be responsible for paying the light bill partially and the heat bill and so forth.
Let me ask you a question. You guys have your own phone, right? Do you pay that bill? Do you guys get grant money?
No.
Okay. So basically your phone bill is paid through donations?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm asking because I don't know. Your operation, basically, you are a distribution arm of Gleaners, and Gleaners is your umbrella organization, and you simply provide a distribution service here in Fayette County for Gleaners. Is that accurate?
I think that's pretty close, isn't it?
Pretty close. When you start getting into costs, donations is our number one source, of course, but we also do receive FEMA money each year. We never know how much it's going to be. But
In case of emergencies, then they will use you
we are
to
under the
distribute
FEMA
food.
umbrella, and we never know how much that's going to be. Some years it's much less, like the year that the Katrina hit in the south, we got much less because most of the money went down there. But we do get some donations that way.
That's all the distribution points for Gleaner receive FEMA money?
No.
No, as far as I know, we're the only one.
How many
No,
people do you
that's
serve?
not true. Well, only from being on the United Way Board, there were like 5 entities, and it's for emergency shelter and food and other things. So
Right, it's
there's
not-
several different entities that get money. They do for having a food pantry.
That's
Some
true.
other places like Central Christian Church, because they provide help with utilities and emergency
Yeah,
shelter.
I stand
those kind of
corrected there,
things.
that's true.
Mr. Gagger, or Mr. Hayes, how many people do you serve? Do you have any idea?
Yes, approximately 12,000 in a year.
Pretty close to 1,000 a month. Now, that's individuals, that's not families.
Okay. And again, excuse my ignorance, but you provide boxes with food that are like, has rice and canned goods and stuff like,
Yes.
is that basically what you do?
Yes.
Yes.
The question of the elevator, again, is I see in the newspaper that I guess I kind of not sure whether this elevator situation was intentionally or inadvertently set up. It's kind of a straw man, we feel, that if I can read something here from the paper that said that increased traffic to and from the food pantry, in addition to the hauling of food items on the elevator, has been given by County Maintenance Director Bill Gray as possible contribution or contributing factors to the elevator breakdowns. I wonder how accurate is that assumption? Are we the only possible contributing factor?
I don't think anyone uses that elevator, other than to distribute or to move the food up and down. I don't think I've ever seen a person come off that elevator other than community sharing,
The only office we have upstairs is emergency management,
which you can't get there.
which very few of the public would go to for any reason.
Yeah.
And so I think what you're looking at is you're looking at an old elevator, and when you load stuff onto it, it's finicky. It's like an old mule. Sometimes it works the way you want it to, and sometimes it doesn't. So, having said that, when the weight is not evenly distributed and being an old elevator, I think that's where the problem has come in, because in one of the meetings, and I think Mr. Gettinger was here, I'm not sure, there was a bolt shown where it had been sheared, and it was, if I remember right, it was sheared at an angle, which means that it had too much weight put on it. So,
We're unable to weight it beyond its load rating. We don't even approach that. And we don't particularly load it unevenly any more than, 3 or 4 people would be on it that would unload it inadvertently, unevenly. So
I don't really
I
want,
think that's kind of an assumption. I'm curious what an elevator company or
Repair company.
or an elevator repair company would say about it. Have they made a comment, Bill?
Yeah.
And what was that?
As I said, this was in the paper, possibly. It didn't say it was.
Well,
That's possibly. You're looking at an elevator that's been there for years. I don't know when it was. I know the old Joe was there, but I don't know.
so it would seem to me then that here's an assumption that we've kind of run with that may not be a correct assumption, that it might be kind of embarrassing to
I don't know.
stop using the elevator or to move a pantry out, and you don't seem to realize maybe what that entails as far as cost and effort. But if this elevator continued to break down, then you've gone through all this difficulty and expense and find you haven't solved the problem. I like to go on record as saying that when we load the elevator, we put about 800 pounds total, that's including a person, with a cart full of canned goods. That's a total of 800 pounds. The elevator has a tag in it that says it's rated at 2,500 pounds. We're a long way from that. So we're not overloading the elevator from a weight point of view. Now, it's true that we make 15 trips perhaps up and down on a day that we get a Gleaner shipment. But those are at, 800 pounds a trip.
If you guys were to move, how long would it take you?
Depends on what our inventory would be at that particular time, but I don't know. Probably.
Question that'd be impossible to answer. I don't know. Do you have any idea, Howard, how long it would take to move all that food?
Kind of depends on what help we get.
We have a rule from Gleaners that we have to have the food 5 inches or 6 inches off the floor, and it can't be against the wall by 6 inches, and that would have to be considered. We have built platforms to keep food off the floor and shelves that keep the food from moving against the wall. And there are a lot of requirements that we would have to think about in moving. It wouldn't just be moving the food. Isn't that right, Howard?
That's right, shelving, yeah.
The storage of the food is critical for Gleaners. It can't be set on the floor, it can't be set up against a wall. In other words.
So they're looking at that for safety reasons too also, correct?
Yeah, food handling regulations. We have to have a food handling test that we have to take in order to make sure that we're following the guidelines for the storage of meat and so forth. We're not any happier about this dilemma than you people are, and certainly, as David said, we're not trying to be adversaries. Is there any possibility that the Board of Commissioners and the group of volunteers that we have could get together and sit down and see if a solution can be ironed out some way or another? Because we don't see any solution at this time.
I think it's possible.
So I would love to have more conversation about this. I appreciate Barton answering the phone when I called you and we had a discussion over the phone, but I think more discussion needs to be held.
We wonder, Zane, you mentioned that you'd also been looking for other places. Have you had any luck with anything other than Salvation Army as a potential?
At the end of the day, most people don't want to, like I said, they don't want to pay your bills, and they don't want you to run your operation as you see fit without them having any input, and they pay the bills and the liability.
Now, you're speaking just of Salvation Army.
Well, now I'm talking to a couple other entities, and they asked to keep their name out of it. They just basically said, no, we just can't do it. Okay? And at the end of the day, that's pretty much the answer I got.
Now, we understand that, and we appreciate that the county's been willing and able to do that over the past 25 years. So
We did receive a phone call from one of the churches in town, and they offered their basement to us. Well, a church operation would be ideal for us if it was close to downtown, because we have a lot of people that walk to our facility or ride bicycles, and weather's permitting. And we feel that our location is ideal as far as that's concerned. But we were unable to talk too much about that offer because they didn't have an elevator and they had like 15 steps to get into the basement, and we could not understand how any group of volunteers, and Mr. Jackson, some of us have less hair and a lot of white hair like you do, and we just didn't think it was feasible to be able to move the food down that many steps. And to say nothing of the problems that the clients getting up and down the steps to the basement might present.
But we,
Well, of course, the steps, they're going up steps to get where you're at, right?
Very few. More like, well, there's 5 or 6 steps there.
Yeah. Chris, can we have an executive session, the commissioners and a certain number of these people, to discuss the situation, see if we can come up to a reasonable solution?
I don't really think that comes under.
I can double check the statute, but I mean, what would it be for to discuss?
To discuss it.
You guys
To sit down around the
county
table
land.
and discuss where we can come up with a solution that would be satisfactory to us and the food pantry.
And then you'd want it to be an executive session, not a,
Well, I think that's what both sides is wanting, where we
I
can just sit
think.
down and everybody can talk freely.
I'd have to double
If
check the
we
statute.
can't do that, one of the commissioners could meet with
We're looking at each other and neither one of us think
Well,
that,
I don't think it will.
I don't think it's, I don't think that that is something that you could have an executive session for.
well, like I say, if we
Yeah,
can't,
yeah.
one commissioner could meet.
Yeah,
with-
one commissioner could
Commissioners
meet.
could meet with 2 or 3, 4 others.
That would please us very much if we could have a little more conversation.
Mr. President, I think we can have a special meeting, and I doubt that, no disrespect, but I don't think anyone from the public would feel a need to attend it. So if we have a special meeting and we have no more than 3 or 4 of you to come and sit down, we'll just sit down across the table and try and hammer this out.
Yeah,
Is that agreeable to you?
I think it would be.
Is that agreeable to you, Howard?
Are you going to be one of the representatives?
I think I would be.
Except if you have a special meeting, I don't think we can limit it.
No, it has to be open, it has to
It
be
would have to be
advertised
open to the
and
public,
open
so
to the
that's
public,
Yeah,
but
that's
that
what
could
I
be
said,
the only thing you
No, but I don't think
discussed.
the public's really that interested where they would want to attend. Because
It would just give you more time to address to one situation rather than having it in this meeting forum where you have a lot of other items on the agenda.
yeah.
I will ask, so we, table this?
No?
I think-
Well, we're going to table, yeah, what we need to do is to vote to have a special meeting.
I will.
And continue this onto that special meeting.
I will ask that even if you don't know, or if you do know, if you find out the source, that between the time of now and the time that we have the special session, we kind of stop the mudslinging, if you can find out who's doing that. And no more bitterness back and forth, we'll just figure it out at some
Good.
point,
Yeah,
okay?
I like that.
It would be to everybody's advantage. if we could do
Say
that.
what?
It would be to everybody's advantage. if we could do
Yes,
that.
I
We need to
think
sit
so.
down and talk about this calmly and come to a solution.
Having said that, Mr. President, I'll move that we schedule a special meeting, which will be open to the public with no more than 4 representatives of the community sharing at a time that's mutually agreeable.
I'll second.
Been moved and second, we have a special meeting to further discuss and try and find a solution to the food pantry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
We'll try and come up with a date and then get a hold of you and see if that date is acceptable.
Which case?
We'll try and hammer it out there. Okay?
Oh, okay.
Gosh, it's cold here.
New business. Highway fuel bid opening.
There's Ben back there.
Huh?
There's Ben.
Oh, okay. Look at you, man.
Is this one bid or several bids?
Well, it was one envelope, I'd say it's one bid. But
Who's it
who's it
from?
from?
Harvest Land, was it Harvest Land on the envelope?
Harvest Land Co-op.
Yeah. Harvest Land Co-op.
Well, we always just accept the bids anyway, right?
Yeah.
We need to, or I'll entertain a motion that we accept the Harvest Land bid for fuel, which covers several different,
Is it gas and diesel, is that what it
It's
says?
87 octane, premium diesel, 1 diesel, and 2 diesel.
okay.
Move to accept.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, we accept the bid from Harvest Land for fuel. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Let me break into our order of business here. I see Ben made it to work, so let's back up and get him, because I'm sure he's
Ben made it to work.
got other things that he needs to be get done.
Good morning. The only things that I really have for you, during that last snowstorm, there was a major power outage that lasted over, I believe, an hour, which is too long for our battery backups to hold up for. So we did have a couple of issues that stemmed from that. We were able to take care of all of those. We do have an issue at the jail where their battery backup system did not function properly, so we are looking at having to replace the battery backup units at their facility. When the generator kicks on for the jail, it leaves power off for just a couple of seconds, and so there needs to be a battery backup unit in place to bridge that gap. It failed and actually shut down the door and camera systems until we could get that back up and running. So we are going to be looking at replacing that, and it's going to be about $2,000, looks like, to replace those battery backup units. But that was the only real major issue that we had from that outage.
When I spoke to you this morning, you said you had all the cameras in except in the treasurer's office.
We got a couple here and there, but the treasurer's office is on the list as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
We got to get the ones on the outside of it.
Yes.
We've got our ground froze up now.
Yeah,
so
I just don't
so
know that
we're
the
ready for
highway is
that.
available right now.
Okay.
Other than that, I know Councilman Winter is going to be bringing in your new business today a recommendation to move to Odyssey. From a technology standpoint, it's a very viable option for us, and I'd have no objections to that if that's the commissioner's pleasure to moving to that system. So I can wait around for when Councilman Winter presents that, but I mean, really.
But you don't have any objections as far as one will work just as well as the others?
Yes, sir. From a technology
As far as the IT part is concerned?
As far as the IT is concerned, I'm okay either way.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Dan.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gray? Bill? Can I speak to you a minute?
They don't want this rental too much. They're afraid
I'm sitting here shaking.
Here's a man to talk to. When we get down there, we want to take care of this.
Which one is David going to replace? Corinne?
We'll take care of these ones.
Sharon's.
He's going to put him in that killer.
Yeah, Kevin. I think Sharon's. Can't be all of them.
Well, we got 5 people on this.
I think Daddy is going. I think Sharon's here.
Yeah.
Well,
I gotta get hold of her. Sharon's.
but that's good that we can do it. Okay. Next item on the agenda is advertised for farm rental for 2014. The county farm just off of Waterloo Road had a 3-year contract. It's up for bids this year, so we need a motion to advertise for bids, cash rent bids for that farm. In the past, the past contract was for a 3-year term. I would suggest going ahead and advertising this for a 3-year term, and then it's taken care of for that length of time.
That county property.
It's county property.
So it's farmland.
It's farmland. It's about
80,
about 85, 86 acres.
Is there an advantage to a 5-year?
No, well, you're gambling with current whether land rents go up or down, you know?
According to market, okay.
Yeah, so 3 years is kind of a happy medium. A lot of other farmers do advertise it every year, but it seemed to work out well the last time we did it on a 3-year basis.
Mr. President, I'll move that we advertise for the farm rental for the county farm for a 3-year term.
And I think probably to give them time to put in their bids and see the advertisement, if we would accept those bids the first meeting in February. That would give them plenty of time. Whoever wanted to bid on the contract to get ready for the spring.
Okay. I'll second.
Been moved to second, we advertised for farm rental bids for the county farmland. And advertised for the bids being the first meeting in February. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Next item is Ray Gully wants to talk to us about the Lions Club Downhill Derby. Is he here?
No, I haven't seen him this
No,
morning.
I haven't. I can't see behind that podium, so I never know.
No, so I don't know. Okay, well, we'll put that off to the next meeting. Next item on the agenda is county board appointments. You want to read these? Me too.
I can, if you like.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we would need to replace, here, hold on. Can I take a moment to call up, we would need to replace Mr. Gobin on the Area Plan Commission.
Right.
And he was reappointed probably in 12, and these are 4-year
Well, and that is the county
appointments.
surveyor's
Yeah.
position, so Mr.
Right.
Sudoff would automatically get that.
Yes. So, do you want to go through all these and then do a motion to approve them all in one
I
thing, or do
think
you
so.
want to do them one by
I
one?
think so, because I don't think there's any
So we are
opposition
saying,
to any of them.
we are saying that Mr. Sudoff would need to go on to the Area Plan Commission. And Zane, you're already on there, so it was just one appointment there on Area Plan. The Board of Zoning Appeals, the only one up for appointment by the commissioners to a 4-year term this year is Kenny Burgess. And I think he's
The Area
willing
Plan
to serve
Commission has
again.
recommended that we reappoint him.
And then the next one is, okay, that's already taken care of because you'll serve through that appointment. There are 2 appointments for the County Health Board, one being Hilton Henry's spot that was up the end of last year, and the other Dr. Vaughn Metz. I think we had received a letter from the Health Department stating that Mr. Henry was not interested, or he did not decline to serve another 4-year term on the board, and that, but I do believe Dr. Metz isn't that what you understood, that Dr. Metz was willing to serve?
That's what we understand.
So you would need one appointment there. That's just a citizen appointment. It doesn't,
But they haven't made a recommendation. And
No, they have
So we'll just
not.
wait till next month to try and get somebody who's willing to serve on that.
okay, so we're going to hold on that. The president of commissioners typically serves on the Fayette County Board of Finance as the president of the Board of Finance. So because you were elected, then you would go on there. Council on Aging and Aged, Frank, you're on there till the end of this year. That was a 2-year term you were appointed to last year. Fayette County Economic Development Board, that is a 1-year term every year.
I have been on that and will stay on that.
Okay. The Alcoholic Beverage Board,
Frank Nutty, we appointed
last
to
year, it's a
take
1-year
Floyd-
term.
To take Floyd's place.
And he would be willing to serve again?
Yes.
Okay. What did you find out about the library appointment?
Dale says that we don't have any
You don't have any appointments? No. Fayette County Extension Board and the 4-H Council are both one-year terms. And Zane, you had been on that.
What is that?
4-H Council.
4-H
Oh, yeah.
Council and Extension Board.
Right.
Do has that been kind of on hold, that Economic
Right.
Development Commission?
Right.
Um,
We don't have one right now.
Yeah. The E911 Advisory Board, Frank had been the prior appointment. The Southeast Indiana Private Industry Council, Bart, you had been on there because of the connection with economic development. Community Corrections Advisory Board, that had been Frank. And you were wishing to serve on that again?
Oh, yes.
Community Corrections. Fayette County First Aid Unit Rate Review and Revisions Committee, that had been you, Zane. Tax Abatement Advisory Committee, that's a one-year term, and that had been Mr. Barker. Public Defender Board, that's a one-year.
Frank.
And that, no, it's actually Zane on that one, and you were,
Okay.
okay? And here we are, you all three serve because virtue of your office, all three commissioners through their term serve on the Solid Waste Board. Now, the Tourism Board, there is an appointment to be made. Was that determined?
Well, what's determined because Mr. Sparks called up and he wanted to resign.
Okay.
And Tammy Dowd has agreed to take
Yeah.
that appointment.
Okay. So it looks like the motion is going to be to appoint Warren Sudoff to the Area Plan Commission, Kenny Burgess for another 4-year term to the Board of Zoning Appeals, Barton Barker to the Fayette County Community Development Board. We will put the Fayette County Health Board appointment on hold. Mr. Barker to serve as president of the Board of Finance. That's not up. Frank Nettie on the Alcoholic Beverage Board. Zane to the County Extension Board and the 4-H Council. Frank to the E911 Advisory Board and to the Community Corrections Advisory Board. Barton Barker to the Southeast Indiana Private Industry Council. Zane to the First Aid Rate Review and Revision Committee. Barton Barker to the Tax Abatement Advisory Committee and to the Fayette County Economic Development Board. Zane to the Public Defender Board. Tammy Dowd to the Tourism Board, and then all three commissioners to the Solid Waste Board. But that's for your term, so that's really not a part. The only thing that I kind of skipped over, but I think, Zane, will you address that? And that is the Cemetery Commission.
Yeah, before we
Yes.
start that, do the commissioners appoint anyone to the Emergency Management Advisory Board?
I had not had that on
We
here.
might all be on it for all I know.
Well, I know the council has, surely the council has an appointment to the Emergency Management Board, don't they?
You know, for whatever reason, I only have the top page, but yes, we do have one appointment by council, 1-year term. That has to be Dale, I think. That's the E911 Advisory Board.
Okay.
No.
No, not
You're talking about 911, we're talking about
Emergency
emergency management.
Okay. I don't have that listed, but I
I think-
don't have, there's a second page, I'm sorry.
I think you're on it, Cheryl. The Fayette County Emergency Management Board,
By virtue of
of
being
your 2-year
president.
term. wise here.
I can't even get in there.
But we haven't had, it has been on the list in the past. If we need one, we can take care of that next month.
I would assume. I think they only meet quarterly, I do
Right.
believe. Huh? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Zane, you go on the cemetery board.
Other reappointments, Corinne Westerfield was on the Cemetery Commission. She will not be reappointed. Dave Caldwell will be appointed in that position, and Doug Keller has been gone. Sarah Plow will replace Doug Keller.
You've all heard a list of the appointments. Is there any discussions or any additions to them? That is not, I'd like to entertain a motion that we approve the appointments as read.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the appointments as read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is the county coordinator. That's,
I was talking to Jenna. Jenna and I were talking.
oh, I thought I passed that.
Through sign language.
Huh?
We're talking through sign language.
Okay,
Yes.
that's okay.
Which we
used
should
to talk
learn
me
very
through sign
quickly.
language, too.
You're number one.
The county coordinator, what that's referring to is the contract we've had with their surveyor to work on the culverts and bridge projects. Do you want to address that, Chris?
Yes, if the surveyor is a competent civil engineer, which in this case is true, then you're supposed to appoint him to that position.
Okay. I might say that the county has a contract for the county coordinator. It's not really the county engineer's position, because I don't think that Jerry was a civil engineer. So what's being recommended is that we cancel the contract with Jerry Goldman as county coordinator and appoint Mr. Sudoff to finish out the year on that contract, or as the county coordinator, as that's what's been budgeted and approved. We can't do much else about a county engineer's position at this time.
Mr. President, I'll move to do so.
Second.
Been moved and second to contract with Mr. Sudoff as the county coordinator and to cancel the contract with Jerry, the contract that Jerry Goldman now has. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Last item on the agenda is the Odyssey system. Mike Winter, you wanted to address that?
Over the course of the past year, working on county council with a few other councilmen, we looked at a lot of things in the budget and tried to identify certain areas where we could save money potentially. As we all know, we're in a difficult situation in the county. We don't bring in enough money to pay for a lot of the bills, and as a matter of fact, I think we're short. From last year, we were $450,000 overspent, approximately, Dale.
Jenna, she said
Okay.
Jenna
We
understood.
meet our goals. I don't have all the complete numbers. I think that sometime during the month, we should issue a total report on that. But I wouldn't quote any exact numbers yet.
The point is that we've overspent, and it's no fault to anybody in particular in the county. It's just things that happen throughout the course of the year have done that. I know it was a point of contention a few years ago. I know the Odyssey system was not as developed at that time, that there were some potential growing pains that would accommodate that or come with that. I'm in the software business. I deal with this on a daily basis. I've done implementation. I've done training. This is what I do for a living. I know that there's blowback from people when they're on a current system that they feel works fine, and in their mind does work fine, and they're able to get their daily jobs done with no problem. And so then they don't want to necessarily change. The problem we're faced with is we have to find money to pay for certain things within our county for us to continue to operate. And when we don't have that money available to us, or we have other instances where we can meet the goals of the county and even exceed some of those expectations on a daily basis, we need to explore those options. And this isn't something to try and ramrod it down anybody's throat. This is something where I would like people to come to an agreement to this together, to weigh all the options on it. I'm simply presenting what I've researched and what I've come up with as a cost savings to the county. It's roughly $25,000, not including probation side of it, which is about another $2,200 that we don't pay. There's grant money available to us. If we had been able to do this a couple years ago, I think we replaced 20 computers is what was targeted for initially to be replaced with grant money, which at today's dollar would have saved us about $11,500 approximately, on top of the $25,000 annual maintenance fee that we're paying to CSI currently. Now we'll need a server. I guess that's part of what Ben has budgeted for this year at a cost of around $5,000 to $6,000, which again we could get covered in grant money from JTAC, which is the division which is overseeing and implementing Odyssey. So what I wanted to do is to further explore it with the clerk to make sure that it is something that she wants to do. I'm strongly encouraging it, but I don't work with it on a daily basis. Okay, I have gone to Franklin County where they've implemented scanning. They've been using CSI since 2007. And so they were well entrenched in whether they're using all of the same peripheral stuff, I don't know. I don't know what exactly they're using, what we're using, and so forth and so on. I can't get into that. But I can say that Melinda walked me through some of what she does procedurally to see the scans, and I agree with what she's seeing. I wouldn't want to give up some of what the functionality that she has when they scan documents and they can go about 3 button clicks and it's right there and done. And it's nice. They did a pilot program with Franklin County in December. I've known about this since the summer that they were going to do this. The scan capability has always been, this has been pretty much the biggest point of contention from my understanding, is the scanning capability within Odyssey software. That they didn't have it. I think we were led to believe it didn't support it. We would have to get a third-party application, which you can do. It may be cost prohibitive to do it. It may be a wash. You just don't know. At this point, it's a moot point because it is offered in the Odyssey software, and they did try it. It's very successful. It's successfully working in Franklin County. They like it. It's the same amount of button clicks. They feel it's actually better. They actually feel it's quicker for them. They like it. They were concerned at first, like everybody is when you switch to something. Is this going to be good for us? Is it going to cost us more time, more effort, more button clicks? Initially they said that they feel that there are a few more button clicks, but they have a lot of drop downs with pre-populated information, so there's less typing on their part. There's less opportunity for making mistakes. They're forced to comply with state law with the way things are entered. They can't go back and backdate things like they can in the CSI system. Everything is done the way it's supposed to be. It's even made them aware of some things procedurally that they weren't aware of, that they were doing illegally, not intentionally, but it just brought a lot of things to light that they weren't aware of themselves as a county, that they thought they were in compliance with. I guess there's a lot of laws and rules and regulations of how you have to do things procedurally, and I'm not aware of all that either. We are in agreement with CSI. As you know, you guys sign that contract with CSI for the rest of this year. I'd like to see us get out of that contract for next year. And we are on the schedule for installation, for implementation. Now, don't have a heart attack. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. We're on the schedule for September, October. And I know the clerk she's not real probably excited about that because of election. The thing is, there will never be a good time to do an implementation. It's always a bad time to do it. Franklin County didn't seem, now they're not dealing with an election, but they didn't have any problems. I talked to almost every gal in that office, and every one of them was very pleased with it and very, very excited about the new software and the way it went. And it's gone better than what they've anticipated. Now, some of the arguments were there's going to be a cost to us. We have to buy new scanning equipment, we have to buy new scanners, we have to buy new software, we have a new maintenance fee and all that. There is zero cost to us. Zero. There's no cost for training, there's no cost for expenses, there's no cost for scanning equipment. We use the same scanning equipment, we use the same scanning software. We get grant money for equipment if we need it, if Ben deems that we need some other equipment, or say one of the other departments here needs new computers. Probably take the ones from the court system and move a few and replace them so that it's no cost to us again. I'm not looking at it as purely a money thing. That is part of it, and that's part of our responsibility as the council, is to try and control what we spend. And I'm not trying to handcuff anybody in the clerk's office by forcing them to go this way. Like I said, I want it to be where we come to an agreement, we work together on this, and we find a middle ground. There's not going to be, people aren't going to be happy on both sides. I understand that. The judges are for it. As we know, they can mandate it. They're not going to mandate it. They don't want to mandate it. Over half the counties in Indiana have already transitioned to CSI. I have heard some arguments about another county. I've done some research in that county, found out why that they're having difficulty with it, and some of it is IT mentality, IT IQ. You know, some of that is difficult to make that transition when you transition to a new software. It's hard to get past what you've always done, and I deal with that on a daily basis, so I'm familiar with it. I would like to propose that before we are set in stone that we're in the September-October time frame, there has to be a memorandum of understanding signed by all parties involved. So then again, we all have to kind of come together on this.
And what's the time frame for having that memorandum of understanding?
Quickly. I mean, not today, not tomorrow, but I think we need to come to something in about the next 30 days to figure something out where we have some time.
Okay.
And even then, I don't think that we are fully committed and we can't back out of it and say we're not going to do it. One of the other questions was that information is our information, and now the state has it. The state has made it clear that if for some reason we adopted Odyssey and in 2 years down the road we said we don't want Odyssey anymore, we want to go back to CSI, all that information is given back. It's not their information. They give all the information back, but they don't own it. It's our information. We will always have access to that information. Now, they have said that on a temporary basis, because one of their things is that they're concerned about the storage of the material, of the files, that may be stored here. In most counties, their servers will already accommodate that. And Ben and I have talked about that. And Ben feels that our servers are more than capable of doing it, and you're looking at getting an additional server. So we should be good from that standpoint if that's required of us. So again, the additional cost that they said may be incurred would be the server, but that would be covered underneath grant money that's available to us. So again, there's no cost to us because that's being covered by free and clear. The Odyssey system is paid for by the state. They've paid for a statewide license that covers every county, so there's no annual maintenance. It's, you know, as a council, we proposed a budget, a $500 bonus for people. This is one of these ways to help get to that bonus for them at the end of the year. We're trying to identify things. The highway department has identified areas with health insurance. We all have to work together to try and identify areas where we can save money, because as you just talked earlier about, what Governor Pence is talking about, if that were to go into effect, we'd be in a real bind. We're already in a bind. So we need to figure out a way to do this.
Hey, Ben, how long would it take to switch this program over if it were to go into effect? Would it be an extremely amount of hassle to get?
You're talking about an entire implementation of Odyssey.
Right.
Now that the state has done, I think it's half the counties now, they have a pretty well-established policy that they go through to do it. I was told they need 9 months of lead time at the very minimum to do things, which is why we're talking about a September, October implementation of this. From my understanding, training would start in September, and then the go live would be on October. So it's a very meticulous process where we'll be working very closely with the state.
And the state would come here and go to each office and show them.
Yes.
That's the training, how to use it, how to implement it.
Yes. They actually stay here for 2 weeks. They're here on board for 2 weeks, and they're there to answer questions. And I was there on day 3 of their training implementation, and I saw a lot of them just not being used, which to me is a good sign, because the people were picking it up that quick. I talked to Carla on Tuesday. They went live Monday. I wasn't aware that I'd called right when it had gone live, and I asked her, and I was expecting to get a horror story. Oh, this is terrible. This is just not going well. This is more painful than we anticipated. And they say it's supposed to be better. She was just gushing over it. She said, this is working great. It's working better than we had anticipated. And one of the things that they had showed me is when they enter in an attorney's name in CSI, if they don't have some information, that they have to populate that manually. They have to type in the address, the location, all that stuff. Is with the Odyssey, they can just type in his attorney's number and it populates everything for them. So it's quicker. They have said there are a few more button clicks, but overall they like it better because they're not doing as much manual typing. There's less opportunity for errors.
So it has autofill, basically.
Basically.
Right.
Which CSI does also.
Okay.
Melinda, did you want to make any comments at this
I
time?
had no idea this conversation was even going on today. Between illness and holidays, I haven't had a chance to go to Brookville. I did tell Mr. Winter that I would go to Brookville and look at the program.
Okay.
But other than that, I had no idea this conversation was even going to occur.
Okay. Well, you said that we had 30 days.
Well, I don't know if it's 30 days, I just got to keep hearing, I think, apprised of what we're doing and the progress we're making. I wasn't expecting Melinda to sit here today and say, hey, yeah, we're going to do it. I know that she's had the holidays, and her and I have talked.
But
And
you
she
are
was gonna
going
get there when
to
she
look
could
into
get
it,
there.
check it
I
out.
do plan to go to Franklin County, yes.
Well, why don't we just hold this off, give Melinda a chance to go down and check it out herself, and then maybe me and you and Mike could sit down and see if we can come to some agreement on what we want to do, or.
And it's probably not going to happen in the next couple of weeks, even with the filing starting tomorrow for candidacy. I need to be here for that, so, as soon as I can.
Well, what I'm saying is, do you think you could get that done this month?
Probably.
Okay. If we could,
If Judge wanted to go too.
Yes, this will just take a minute. Melinda, I'm glad that you're here. I'm just going to go up to the podium because I've got a little bronchitis and I don't think you can hear me. With regard to the Odyssey system, we did talk about this at length probably a year and a half ago, I think it was.
Yes, we did.
Judge Ertl is not here at the time, but Judge Ertl and I have discussed this numerous times, so I feel comfortable in addressing this with regard to both courts. the courts are in favor of switching to the Odyssey system. We absolutely respect the fact that Melinda is also an elected office holder and the fact that she will be living with this every day as well as the courts. And I was aware that now Franklin County, along with some other counties surrounding Fayette County, has decided to go with the Odyssey system. So I was wanting to go down there myself, Melinda, and also with you with the holidays and the closings and the illnesses, have not had an opportunity, not because I was trying to not include you in that loop, but just because of the way things work out. I would love to go to Franklin County with you at a time when we could both go, look at the system, talk to the ladies in the clerk's office. I've talked to Judge Cox about it some just because he's a friend of mine and I wanted to talk to him about it. He did tell me that he didn't see any problems with it. So I would love to do that, and if we could go together, that would even be that much better. I believe that eventually all of the courts in the state are either going to do this voluntarily or it's going to be mandated at some point. I don't speak for the Indiana Supreme Court, but that's just the trend that I see. But like I said, I do want to work with the other office holders and try to do it in a way that everybody's happy and satisfied with and not shove it down anybody's throat.
We're in a lot better position now than we were a couple of years ago when this was brought up, because like, you can go to Franklin County and see firsthand.
Exactly. Well, you know, Union County and Rush County have it too, which is surprising because they're much smaller counties. But I'm just saying the little counties surrounding us, even now, we're starting to move toward that. But I think it would be good to go to a county who has just now done it. Talk to the people in the clerk's office, talk to the people who live with it every day and see what they have to say. So
yeah, and I think it would be great if you and Melinda go down together. Then if one of you see something that you don't like, you can discuss it amongst yourselves then. And then when you get that done, come back and...
Mr. President, our first meeting in February is the 4th of February. Would that give you enough time? That way you can go ahead and get on the agenda?
It just depends on how many candidates come in.
Well, let's say we'll try for that, and if that doesn't work, well, you can let us know.
We'll be flexible. We'll be here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Melinda.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, let's do that. Probation contract, that was added to the contract. I guess, Jenny, you're going to talk about that?
Yeah, I think I'm here for the judge. I will sit down after court. I was
not even aware this was on there.
And actually, on the whole Odyssey thing, from the probation perspective, we're in agreement with it too. It makes our jobs easier, actually, and majority of probation departments are already on it. Most of our from the Judicial Center required forms are done online, and I guess with the Odyssey, from what I've heard from other probation departments, there's a lot of shared information rather than us having to make phone calls or send for records checks and things like that. We can get that offline now. Plus, it would save probation. We pay $200 a month now, monthly maintenance fee to PBS software system of what our case management is through. We would get Odyssey for free, so we're kind of all for it because more and more probation departments are getting it, and it's easier to access information for us.
I guess you can't beat free.
To do, yeah, I'm all for the free. And I've asked a couple chief probation officers, as far as the system itself, as far as probation is concerned, the ease of use and things like that, and nobody had any problems with it. So I just.
One line from an email.
Beg your pardon?
What she's talking about here. This is Mary Dupree, states she used to be a judge. Find one real quick. This is all tied in with the Indiana State Police too, which I think is called CRIS, acronym CRIS, that when their convictions are done in the Odyssey system, it's automatically uploaded to Indiana State Police where it gets the background of that.
We have to do it manually right now.
Yeah.
I call it manually, I guess.
And there's a lot of room for errors. They cited an example here, one county, I can't find it real quick. A county where there were a number of convictions that weren't uploaded to Indiana State Police, this CRIS system, and so they weren't able to access that information, which is important, I guess, for the probation side of things, for the rules and so forth of probation.
Risk assessments, things like that.
So
We've got another history.
There's that part of the puzzle too. So it's not just there, but it's all intertwined.
It's definitely more connected with other agencies, and it makes it easier for us, so. But I'm here
Okay.
to talk about the detention contract. We got approval from the council for 2014 of $75,000 for secure detention cost. And it is time for a renewal of the secure detention contract. We've historically always gone with Cedar Bridge. We are proposing that again today. I do have the agreement before me that needs to be signed by the commissioners. I know the judge in agreement, she sent me down in her place to present it to you. I would like to say we do have some carryover days still right now. We just had asked for an additional, I think it was in November, for 200 extra beds. We have probably 150 or more still, and that does roll over if we get a new agreement with Cedar Bridge. Those will be used first, and then the new contract will start.
Jenna, you might explain who Cedar Bridge is.
Cedar Bridge is basically a secure detention facility for juveniles in Muncie, Indiana. It was bought out by Cedar Bridge a couple years ago. It used to be called Delaware County Youth Diagnostic Center, but it is a secure detention facility just specifically for juveniles.
We're talking about the old MRDC.
Yes, we called it MRDC, Muncie Reception and Diagnostic Center.
Excuse me for interrupting, I apologize, but I thought that Judge Butch was trying to transition more to Wernley as opposed to Cedar Bridge.
And we did, Wernley did have a secure detention facility. However, due to lack, I guess, of being able to get contracts, especially in Wayne County, they're no longer providing the secure detention.
Okay.
They're actually looking at changing it into, I think, an all-female private facility for females. They're going to use it for something else. But yes, we were interested in. No, just that
part that was
building
secure.
that they had converted to secure setting, and we would have used them. They were closer. However, it just never got off the ground. That's from Wernley's side of it.
So we probably won't use Wernley at all.
No,
Okay.
and we would have had they stayed in business, but it really never got off the ground. I will say that I had requested another proposal through another facility. It's Youth Opportunity Center, which is also in Muncie.
The YOC?
Yes, YOC also has secure detention. I did request that. Cedar Bridge they've been going up in per diem, and they went up from, I think it was 109 last year to 119 this year. And I did negotiate with the liaison, I guess, I have with Cedar Bridge, Scott Barlag, requested that he match the 110 per diem that YOC was offering, and they did agree to do that. So they did come down in their per diem that they originally provided a contract for 2014. So we did talk them down. I'm comfortable with staying with Cedar Bridge. They do provide all transportation. We've really had no issues with them at all. It's just they kept going up in the per diem, and basically I requested that they talk to finances and not raise those again for us and match and have a competitive match with YOC. I'm fine with YOC also. It's just Cedar Bridge is kind of a known entity that we know we've been successful with, and we work well with them, so I'm fine with staying with them.
For the record, YOC is a fairly new facility. I've been through it several times, and they do provide educational classes there, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And
I actually compared them both. They're basically the same. They both they have to provide education and basic medical needs. The one thing about Cedar Bridge is that part of the per diem we can do psychological evaluations, and I rarely do that now because it's covered by DCS, but in the rare event we wouldn't be able to have the state pay for a psychological evaluation while someone's in detention, we would be able to at Cedar Bridge, and you cannot do that at YOC. It has to be approved by the state DCS in order to get it paid for. But they're both, I mean, I think they're both fine. I think Cedar Bridge, we just got the contract this year. I would continue to approach YOC with proposals each year to see who's the most competitive as far as the per diem is and the services that they're providing. The contract that I'm presenting today is for Cedar Bridge, and it is for 681 bed days for the 2014 year, and that would be at the cost of $74,910. We did get the $75,000 already approved for 2014. I believe it's hard to, you're guessing as far as the number of detention, is we have no control what the kids do. Sometimes they go crazy, and then we go periods of time that, you know, everything's quiet and there's no detentions. I believe at this point 681 bed days should be sufficient for 2014. Plus we have some of the carryover still from the additional I asked for. I'd had to ask for the additional because I'd only budgeted $50,000 last year.
Now, is there any provision in case we do need more beds than that?
There is a provision in there. It basically says that we've got 30 days. Once we go over bed days and they present an invoice, we have 30 days to amend the contract agreement and add the number of bed days. That kind of happened this past year in 2013.
Or did they give us them at the same rate then?
Well, it depends on whether they've raised their standard contract rate or not, because that's what...
Whatever the going rate is at the time.
Right, at that point.
Yeah.
So, you know, right now it's at 110, say in November they raise it to 115 and we run out of beds, it would be 115.
Okay.
For the remainder of that year, then we can renegotiate for 2015.
What happens if you don't use?
If we don't use them, we can roll them over, and that's in the contract. The way I read the contract, though, in order to roll over, the way I took it, and really the attorney could look at this, we have to have another agreement with them. It can roll over into the next year's agreement. So I take it that if we decided to go with YOC and not go back with Cedar Bridge, if we had not used all of our days, we may not get credit for those. We use them or lose them, basically. So that would be timing. You know, if we
Well, then you
decide
get
we
caught
want
up-
to change
you get
over
caught up
right now,
into, yeah, well, it's coming to the end of the year. I've got to finish off. You know what I mean? So it just depends on.
right,
But you don't want to waste money either.
Right.
Just give it to them. So.
and at this point, with having had to have gotten the additionals at the end of last year, and we have quite a bit left over to roll over, I'm comfortable with doing this contract, but I, like I said, I'll review it, and if there's a more competitive secure detention anywhere, basically, I would go for that too.
Okay.
We
Mr.
should-
President?
Oh,
I'm
I'm so
sorry, Debbie.
sorry. I
Go
just wanted to get this filled in. This contract is for $74,910, and that's how
110
How many bed days?
per diem, at 110 per diem
Right.
for 681 bed days.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I didn't do the math, that's what they had in the
Well,
contract.
I-
The judge just handed this to me as it came down.
So we'll blame her on it if it's not.
Yeah, well, I wasn't
It
as
is
prepared as I
600
normally would be.
It is 681.
Okay. Frank?
Sorry.
Mr. President, I'll move to accept the contract that she has for Cedar Bridge pending approval by the attorney.
Okay.
Second.
Move and second, we approve the contract, subject to the approval of our attorney. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There you go.
I'll tell you.
Do you want me, can you give him a copy of this? I'll just give you this.
Yeah, we can
That one, I'll
copy.
email.
Like Jim, they'll come back. Just
Can you stay just a minute?
because they
Sure.
want the money.
Okay. The only other thing I had on the agenda, I wanted to just kind of give a report on the highway garage. We've been in the process of trying to get a new highway garage down there. We had soil borings on the piece of ground we have, and they come out terrible. if we have an opportunity to buy the piece of ground in front of us, which is 2.775 acres, I think it is, we had soil borings on that too. That piece of ground, the soil borings did come out good to build on. The architect that we have been proposing to design our building tells me that to build on our piece of ground, it would cost from $50,000 to $100,000 extra, which kind of puts that out of the ballpark. Then to complicate things, the piece of ground down in front that we're negotiating on to buy, when we had the big rain, the water come across the road and stood in there. So if we buy that piece of ground, we have to build it up. We'll have to have a topo study done, but we have to build it up, I'd say, as high as what the highway is for that to work. The other option it has, we have had one building proposed to us that would meet our needs. We could just move right in. So right on the minute where the commissioners are deciding whether to pursue buying that piece of ground and building that, or trying to see what that would cost to do that, buy the other building. Because like I say, our piece of ground is just about cost prohibitive to build on. So that's where we are on that.
Do any of the council representatives here have any questions about that? We'll give you any and all details that we can, but
Well, I think that we all, have very much interest in the highway garage and have expressed, and approved. But I believe conditional on staying in that one ground. And again, you have to kind of keep moving forward, and we learn as we go. Right. So the idea was that we all felt that it would be better if we could stay in our current location.
I think everybody would say that the location we are, if we could stay there, being as we're established, would be better. But and if we go right in front of it, would be the same thing.
I'm wondering if perhaps, and again, there's many different items on the agenda about the highway garage, the location, the cost, and how safe, actually where it is, the safety. I wonder if it might be possible to select a committee from the council. We have several areas of expertise that maybe could help lend some information, and maybe schedule a separate meeting where it wouldn't have to take up the time of your commissioners' meeting or the council's meeting to go over.
You're talking about a committee meeting.
Pardon?
You're just talking about a committee meeting. And
Right.
that would be fine. I would be glad to meet with a couple of
special
people from the
committee
council
meeting.
and go over what we've found out and any ideas they have. And because we do need to get this marching on down the road.
Yes, I think we all feel
the
very...
building has been essentially condemned, and we're going to have to get out of it in a short period of time. So we have to do something. So that would be fine. I mean, if it would hurry the thing on, I'd be glad to meet with Mike and whoever,
I know that the commissioners are very busy as well as the council, but again, I think this evening, if we could ask for a couple of volunteers with the expertise, could meet with you as commissioners on a special meeting, that we could invite the public's attention, to come and participate, but that they could share.
You're talking about a public meeting against...
Well, I think anytime
instead of a
that...
committee meeting?
I think it would be, initially, it might be better just having a committee meeting and
That's what I
discuss,
think.
iron out some things, and then have a
And your
public
people with
meeting.
expertise, we can...
Whatever that
can
we
talk to
have
and
to
see if
do to
we
meet the
come
requirements.
to an agreement and where to go and then go on from there.
Okay.
Okay? Would that be all right?
No, I'm going to ask if either of the others, because both of them are very involved with wanting to see it proceed as well.
I just think that by doing the committee thing, that we're gonna speed the thing up, and in the long run, we're gonna be able to come to common ground.
That's fine.
Which I think is what we want.
Right.
We all will be on the same page, and if some other people on the council feel that they have some input, then maybe that'll quell some of the fires that
Right.
are burning, so that's all.
Right, maybe when you come to the committee meeting, you can know what the concerns of the other people on the council are.
Right.
And we can get this hashed out. That'd be great.
Okay.
Thanks. Patrons' concerns? Can't have many, don't have any
Run them
patrons
all
left.
off.
They're not leaving their house. It's 1-0.
Last item on the agenda is approval of the payroll. We have no claims at this meeting.
Mr. President, since we have no claims, if there's no further business, I'll move to adjourn.
No, sir.
No, sir?
Got approved
We do
payroll.
have to approve the payroll.
Oh, I'm sorry, you said, I apologize.
You better do that.
You mean they don't get paid?
Yeah, that would be a patron concern on my part.
Right. We do need a motion to approve the payroll.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second, we approve the payroll. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now I would.
Can I compliment my staff? Kathy Heimlich ran into an issue. Payroll's been kind of sped up since we went to direct deposit. And when she came in to enter the payroll on Monday, she found that it wasn't bringing over the pays because she was entering it to be paid in 14, it wasn't bringing over the pays for 2013. So this was kind of an issue with our new software, that it's one of those things we hadn't run into, and we were the first former CompuTrol clients that had switched over. And she worked extra hours and had a lot of phone calls back and forth to get to the point where we could successfully get a direct deposit done and get people paid on time. And I know a lot of employees, and I know you guys never see what goes on behind the scenes in that, but we were right down to crunch time being able to get that done. So I really want to thank Kathy and all my staff for their effort to make sure, all the things happen behind the scenes that you don't ever really see. So
The direct deposit was a good thing.
yeah.
And they do a great job.
Now, Frank, if you want to adjourn the meeting,
Sure?
we will, yeah.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Thank God, my hand